Sunday's Texans-Rams game was certainly disappointing. I think we all were expecting to see a lot of new with new offensive coordinator, a new offensive line coach. I think your expectations should have been kept in check by the fact that there is a real limitation in the receiving core. I mean, at this moment in time, we're talking about a unit that has Nico Collins, who you want to feed the ball to as much as you possibly can, but is without Christian Kirk. Hopefully he'll be back Monday against the Buccaneers. There are a lot of uphill battles that they were fighting from the jump in week one. And then Ed Ingram, the right guard, gets scratched, and you move Titus Howard to right guard. And at left tackle, instead of Ariante Ursary, who's a rookie and has been practicing all offseason at left tackle, he moves over to the right side of things, and then Cam Robinson comes off the bench, but then Cam Robinson gets hurt, and when Cam Robinson gets hurt, then Ursary moves back to the left. They bring in Blake Fisher. Fuck, Blake Fisher is bad. Hold with a face mask. He's off the field immediately. Robinson comes back in. Ursary moves back to this right tackle. This was all in one drive. And then Jake Andrews gets hurt. He's going to be out a while. And Jarrett Patterson comes in. And, I mean, they had to overcome a lot on Sunday. I see a lot of skies falling. There was one tweet in particular that I saw from somebody on Texans Twitter called McGrady's Right Eye. He said, join Texans Twitter for some camaraderie, but realize y'all some overdramatic crybabies. For real, laughing my ass off. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I like, it's one game. I'm not trying to tell you how to fan. I'm just telling you the sky is falling, fire everybody's stuff. They lost on their road against a team that came closer to beating the eventual Super Bowl champs than anyone in the playoffs. Eagles played the Rams. They almost lost. Like they were a missed block, complete just brain fart where someone forgot to block. Was it Jalen Carter? Like, they had a running back trying to block Jalen Carter on third down. So that was 4th and long. They weren't able to get it. But if they scored a touchdown, they would have taken the lead. This isn't, the Eagles and Commanders game. Eagles killed them. And this isn't the Eagles and the Chiefs. Eagles killed them. Rams came closer to beating them than anyone. So Texans losing 14-9 on the road. It's not a moral victory, especially with some of the same problems that you've seen for a while. But you shouldn't be, I think, crying and whining about this potentially being the end. There are things, though, to be frustrated about, for sure. And after the game, here's a little montage of both DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud talking about a lack of urgency on Sunday and also lollygagging.
We got to come down with just better urgency, I think.
Rams did a good job, but there are a lot of things that we control, penalties, eye discipline, just the urgency. We control all of that.
We try to think positively and give ourselves a little grace, but also there's some urgency and there's some things we need to fix. So I know the conversations will be hard and, we'll be hard on each other, but I think it's a good thing.
This isn't the first time we've heard them talk about urgency. This isn't the first time. They've been talking about it a lot. I heard it a lot from Will Anderson, specifically this offseason. He said it in the exit interviews after the Texans lost to the Chiefs. He said it a couple of weeks later as well at training camp. I mean, this is something where you would think if you're saying it as much as you're saying it, that you'd actually make it a point of, we're going to do this going forward. Here is DeMeco Ryans at the end of the year talking about Will Anderson discussing that sense of urgency and how, Will Anderson, who is a leader on this team, is the guy that we're hoping installs it in everybody else.
I agree with everything Will Anderson says. He's spot on there. It will take that sense of urgency consistently from everyone to, get to where we want to get to. So I mentioned to our guys today, like my position and my role is to take this organization to new heights. And new heights for us is finding a way to get to the AFC Championship. So we haven't been as an organization, and to do that, we need, everybody on board, like Will Anderson, a guy who is the flag bearer for Swarm and the mentality and everything that we need from our entire team.
So that was right after the Texans lost to the Chiefs. And yeah, I agree with what DeMeco had to say there. And this urgency need for it, it goes back. And the thing that you're going to hear DeMeco talk about in a moment is something that really makes me think of the Texans-Packers game last year, October 20th. The way Texans-Rams went was a lot like the way Texans-Packers went to me. You had a lot of shooting yourself in the foot with things you can control. The offense really had a tough time moving the football against a team that's either on your level or maybe slightly ahead of you. And it just felt like everything was really sloppy in a way that it shouldn't have been. And it just makes you feel like you're watching the same old Texans team that you've been watching for a really long period of time. So I'm going to go back to this other clip from DeMeco Ryans after that game, where he talks about urgency at the line of scrimmage for the Texans nearly a year ago.
Being on the road for every team, it's going to be more difficult with the crowd noise. Right? That's why fans are important. They can truly affect the game by creating noise, especially in those third down situations. So we have to communicate in the huddle, get out of the huddle sooner, right? More urgency to get to the line so we can communicate and be on the various looks that we get on third down.
You got to get out of the huddle and you got to get to the line of scrimmage. And that's something that we didn't see. We didn't see it on Sunday. And I think there are a lot of excuses to be made for it. I'm seeing some of them on the comments section. Rick Hagewood's asking, how quickly did Caley get the play calls to C.J. Stroud? Took the offense way too long to get to the line. Yeah, they had a delay of game on the first drive of the game. This is something that is not a Texans exclusive problem. When I was up in Seattle covering the Seahawks, Russell Wilson was so slow getting the Seahawks to the line of scrimmage. And they would get called for delays all the time. And people would blame Pete Carroll for it. But this is a quarterback thing. I get that, yes, the head coach has to tell all these players to be urgent and all that, but this is a C.J. Stroud thing. Because it was a Russell Wilson thing. I vividly remember there was a Seahawks 49ers game at the end of the 2019-2020 season. The Seahawks had picked up Marshawn Lynch during the week. Everyone was so excited that they had picked up Marshawn Lynch during the week because things weren't going so well down the stretch for them. They're playing the 49ers at home in a night game. They've got the ball on the 49ers' doorstep. And if they win the game, like they're winning the NFC West. And Marshawn Lynch slowly trots onto the field, and it's this big fucking moment. It's building up to a sports movie kind of ending. And he gets into the huddle, and it's like the Seahawks thought that time just stood still, like it was a movie, and they were too slow getting to the line of scrimmage, and they get called for a delay of game. So now all of a sudden, it's a goal-to-go situation with the game on the line from the 5, the 6, the 7 or something like that, and they didn't score. Game over. You got to get to the line of scrimmage as quickly as you possibly can, and it didn't happen on Sunday. And it's something that didn't happen a lot last year. So yesterday at his press conference, the normal Monday press conference, but since it's a Monday night football game coming up this week, DeMeco Ryans was asked about urgency. He was also asked about penalties, we're going to stop and play along with old DeMeco Ryans, your Texans head coach.
Staying on track and penalties, how much are penalties about discipline and maybe just like overcompensating for not winning your individual matchup?
Yeah, so many different penalties happen in that game. So it's like, which penalty you want to talk about? It's, you have some penalties where you're being a little too overly aggressive at times. Some penalties are technical where, you're trying to be aggressive, hands come up a little bit. So things like that happen in the game, right? But the things you can't control for me are, the pre-snap penalties, right? Making sure we're in the right formation, no illegal shifts, no jumping off sides when we know. So it's just the pre-snap things. Those are the ones that are unacceptable to me because those we fully control those. So let's get those out of the way, and then let's see how we are. But aggressive penalties are going to happen. We're not losing our mind over that.
I liked hearing that clarification from DeMeco. I don't give a shit if someone gets called for unnecessary roughness. I don't give a shit if someone gets called for that. Like, I didn't mind Azeez Al-Shaair putting his shoulder into Trevor Lawrence as Lawrence was awkwardly sliding, and then Lawrence hits his head on the ground. He's trying to stop his forward progress. Jaguars didn't handle it well, but I think sliding's lame, first off. Second off, I want that team to fly around and scare people. I want this defense to have the mentality that we are not going to give you an inch. In short, there were definitely some moments where they gave the Rams, specifically Puka Nacua, all the inches, feet, yards. But I have no issue with the aggressiveness. He is right on the money here talking about the shit that needs to stop. The problem is it hasn't stopped yet, and you would think that by now it would have stopped. That's the thing that I'm having a tough time with. We have seen this a lot. We've seen this over and over and over and over again. At some point, it has to be fixed. A lot of new pieces. So it's not like it's a complete continuation of it's not a complete continuation of where we were last year because of all the new pieces and Laremy Tunsil's gone and, an entirely new offensive line, new offensive coordinator, all that. But it's some of the same stuff. So if you're a fan and you're watching this, you're like, this is the same shit. Sure, new people, but it's the same thing. And, that's certainly frustrating. More from DeMeco Ryans at his presser yesterday. I do think it's funny. DeMeco does this a lot. If you ever, this is an unfortunate frame to catch him on, but Laremy will lick his top lip a lot. I don't know why I noticed this, but I've noticed it.
Are there things you can do in practice to limit those? I'm sure you already focus on him and tell him, not to do them. But when you have a game like you did on Sunday with so many penalties, do you do anything different in practice to guard against it?
Guys, most of the time when the penalties happens, it's about, poor technique. So if your hands are too high, when we don't coach hands high, your hands are supposed to be low. You just need to kind of refocus yourself on actually doing and training yourself mentally and physically to do it exactly how we're coaching it to do. Right, then you don't have penalties when it comes to hands to the face mask type penalties, holding type penalties, making sure you're in a proper stance, making sure you're playing with low pads. Again, and if you play the right way, then you eliminate some of those just by playing with good technique and fundamentals.
Talks about technique, talks about fundamentals, but hey, getting to the line of scrimmage, that's not technique. That is fundamentals, but it's such a basic fundamental. And you're like, what the fuck? One of the things I have an issue with, and I've been seeing this a lot with my favorite college team, Syracuse, where I went to school, is that they're getting called for a lot of illegal men downfield, and they're getting called for it because these guys, fundamental-wise, they're not going to the referee at the line of scrimmage before every single play and saying, I'm on the line. You got to do that every play. You learned that in fucking high school, Got to do that. They're not doing that. As far as the Texans, we're really slow getting out of the huddle, and there's a part of me that wants on Sunday, you heard, I think it was Christy Reekin of the Associated Press asking DeMeco, do you do anything differently in practice when it comes to penalties? I would like to see them run all no huddle, all practice, because that way, at the very least, there's a sense of urgency that gets installed. Everyone should be getting to their spots as quickly as possible. Plays need to get in quicker, so that is on Nick Caley as well. And then they got to get to the line of scrimmage and actually, snap the fucking ball. Anyway, more DeMeco Ryans, head coach of your Houston Texans.
After the game, CJ mentioned that he thought that there was lollygagging, not a great week of practice. You mentioned Aziz as a guy that knows what you want. So during the week, is that something you can recognize that can change? Who are you looking at offensively to say, hey, this is to stop like right now versus come Sunday, like, oh, it just wasn't a good week? Like, how do you stop having a bad week?
Yeah, it's never an entire group. That's the one thing about it. So there are individuals that have their moments throughout the week, and the lollygagging, it's a term everybody want to use now. It's for me.
It's an easy word to focus on, though, DeMeco, when C.J. Stroud is saying it after the game and also talking about a crappy week of practice. I think DeMeco's a little bit annoyed by this, but hey, C.J. said it. Of course we're going to jump on that word. Anyway, more DeMeco.
It is just our tempo, right, in and out of the huddle, right? We got to get in and out of the huddle quicker so we can get to the line of scrimmage so we can operate and make sure we got checks and things we have to make at the line of scrimmage. Well, to make those checks in the proper manner, right, we got to get out with some urgency. So the urgency piece from everybody has to pick up from the offensive side of the ball, right? The urgency picks up, and we'll be able to operate cleaner when it comes to pre-snap and post-snap.
I don't like him saying when the urgency picks up. I don't like him saying when. That is something that should pick up quickly. When? No, it should be assumed that is going to happen now. Anyway, more DeMeco.
Who are you looking at to say, like,
You're
to
looking
pick
at
that
him.
speed
You're
up?
looking at him. I handle everything comes back to me. It's not about me. Oh, I need to talk to a player about doing this or that. We'll get it. We'll get it fixed. It's on me.
I've heard Bill O'Brien say that a lot with a lot less charm. DeMeco is saying, hey, it's on me right there. Cool. But the changes need to actually happen. And the changes haven't happened at this point in time.